Thank you very much. And I'm very honored to be given such an opportunity to share my experience from my graduate studies.
So, Dr. Kenichi, your audio is bad. So,
okay. Did you hear anything at all?
it was not good. So,
okay. Is it okay now? Because you are the only one that can speak out.
Yeah, maybe just speak. Let me hear more.
So, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Please just let me know if it doesn't. I think we'll be struggling also with the connection. So I'm going to share with you today a bit from my experience. I'm not saying it's all of it, but just the little that I can share. And as you all know, we are always work in progress, right? So I'm going to share my screen now. So Ibe, please let me know if you can see it, since you are like the mouthpiece of the rest, okay?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, thank you. So share. Okay.
Yeah, it's loading. Yes. So we have your screen now.
Okay, I'm trying to put this in a presentation mode. So. Okay, do you have it in presentation mode?
Not yet. So we lost your screen now. We're only seeing you.
I know, I just... in the presentation mode. Can you see it clearly?
So it's still loading? Oh, yes.
Let me know when you see it.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So today I would like to share with you my experience from my graduate studies. And as you can see, I've titled it my PhD journey, the lessons learned. So I did, as Ikem rightly said, I was part of the European Joint Doctoral in Functional Materials. And I did my studies concurrently between the Karlsruhe Institute of Technology in Germany and also the University of Bordeaux in France. So most of my times was spent moving between Germany and France in the course of the 3 years. So the first thing is that I want you to have as a reality in graduate school is that the product of your PhD research is you. Okay, I'm going to give you a few seconds for that to sink in. Okay, so you are the product from your PhD research. And what does this really mean? So what this means, at least in my own perspective, is that when you come out from your graduate studies, you should look at yourself and evaluate and assess and even feel the PhD project or the PhD research that you've done. So you are the product. And what this also means is that in all your experiences, most of us would go through very difficult times, struggling with experiments or with different types of presentations. Just know that you are growing and you are the product from that PhD. That should change a lot our perspective from the way that we approach graduate research, okay? So you are the product. And you can imagine that it's not really about your thesis, it's about you. And when you come out from your graduate studies, you should feel that kind of responsibility that, yes, I am the product and I'm proud of what I've become. I'm proud of the growth that I've achieved within the past 4 years. Okay, so I'm not the same person, I've improved. So you should be able to assess yourself and really accept that aspect of it, that you are indeed the product from your PhD research. Okay, so now I want to start with one aspect of the first, and I think the only record I have of myself in during my PhD studies. So I started in February 2016, then in Germany. And after the first 5 months, I mean, I started with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of excitement. You can't imagine how happy I was. Hello, Ibe. Hope you can hear me very well. So that
Yes,
the others. Okay, very good. So this is the video. I hope this video plays. It was a lot of struggle to get it, but this is the video that I recorded, and I will tell you what led to this video. Okay.
Hello. Today is the 16th
Can you hear
of
the video?
June 2016. This is the 5th month of my
yes.
PhD. I'd hope that maybe I will be doing an update of my PhD work every month. But obviously, this not happened up to now. And after 5 months, what have I achieved? Okay, and what is the next step I have to take? 5 months, maybe not such a long time, but a lot has happened so far. And just today I've got to know that maybe most of the experiments I've done will not make a lot of difference if I had known earlier that my modification is not occurring on the cellulose. So I'm having probably a side reaction, and this is very prominent. I'm also happy that this is discovered earlier enough such that I had not wasted a lot of time um, on false hope. And so maybe when it's too good, maybe it's not. When it's too good to be true, then it's not true. I'm hoping that in the next few weeks I'm going to rectify this and improve on the modification of cellulose through multi-component reactions. It's my expectation that in the next few weeks, maybe 2 weeks by max, I should have understood the position of my work and I would have been able to know what to do next. Till next month, I hope that I'll be able to update you and let you know how much I've done and what are my expectations. So, but now I think my strongest motivation is the fact that I'm doing what I really want to do. I want to work on sustainable chemistry, and I'm working on a topic that I think I'm the right person to work on it. I also think that I'm in the right group and I'm getting the right support that I need. So, yeah, I think that in the next 2 weeks I should be able to update you and let you know how much I've done and what next is to be done. Till we meet next month, have a nice time. This is Casey. Peace.
Okay. Ibe, did you get everything? So that means everybody did, right?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So I mean, this video brings a lot of emotions to me. I can imagine, you can see my hair, you can see the room. Everything was really, really tattered. I mean, I was really, really down. And you can even see from the video that it was a spontaneous record. I just came back home and I said, okay, I'm going to capture this. And you can see even in that state of mind that things are not working. It's one thing to think things are not working, but it's another thing for you if you think they are working, but they are not actually working. So what happened here was I started my PhD in February 2016. And by the first 1 month, I thought I was already making a lot of progress and was even thinking about, even with my supervisor, that we are going to be drafting a manuscript, only for it to, like after 4 months to the 5th month, I realized that what I was doing was not happening as we would have expected. So it was to be in a kind of, we don't say wrong or bad, but it wasn't what we hoped for, right? And means I just felt like 5 months have been wasted. Okay, it's been wasted. And when I went to my supervisor that morning and he looked at me and the first thing he said is, you know, a failed experiment is not a failed life. Okay, but I'm there looking and saying, it's 5 months. It's 5 months that I thought I'm making progress. So it captures my mood, but in that mood, you can see the power of positivity. I was very confident that this is what I want to do. I'm in the right group. I am happy with what I'm doing. I'm going to make out of it. So that is the mindset that you should have. When you come into PhD, into graduate studies, you have to come in with that energy. When they talk about, if you look at most of these openings for PhDs, right? Or for graduate studies. So we are looking for highly motivated students. This is the reason, because you are going to get into very deep pits and nobody can give you the kind of motivation you need to come out from it. So means the positive mindset and undying passion, the tenacity, the resiliency to never give up, to never to be broken, to stay positive cannot be overemphasized in your PhD journey. It's just the aspect that you need to build in your mind that I'm going to come out from it. I'm going to go through this journey, but I would stay to the very end. It has to be so clear in your head. So graduate school is not about who is intelligent. And this was the first advice that my professor gave me in France. He called me into his office and he was like, Kenny, I know you're an A student, you make the best grades, but I want to let you know that research is not about you being intelligent. It's not an exam where you have an A or you have a B or you are crying because you don't make an A plus. No, it's experiments. You're doing something that someone has not done. You are going into a route that no one has been there before. So you need to think beyond that aspect. If you're that kind of student that cries when you fail an exam, then there will be so many tears in your graduate school, because for sure you are going to go through a lot. And if you are also the kind of students, when I was much younger, if I fail an exam or if I don't get a good score, I tear my script even. I'm so pleased with myself that I just tear it. So it was very important that he had to tell me this at the beginning, because if not, if an experiment is not working, I would feel it's my fault or something is wrong. It's all about me, then I would not even be motivated to continue. So rather, graduate school is about being smart, okay, being rugged, being resilient, being critical thinking, being highly motivated. Now, the smart here means that in the middle of what you are doing, you should be thinking. You should be thinking about what can go wrong, what can I do different. At every point in time, always be conscious that this is your work. If it's me, I always say that my PhD then is my baby. This is your baby. You are responsible for that baby. So you have to drive every conversation that you want about your work. And you have to be critical thinking in the sense that when you are going through your experiments, always ask the questions of what you are going to get out from it. So don't just wait until something goes wrong before you start thinking, if it goes wrong, what can I do? Okay. So if this experiment goes wrong, what can I do different? Don't wait till it goes wrong before you start having that thought. So you need to really be on the spot thinking about what you are doing. You need to be conscious about the steps that you are taking. So I put it this way, like graduate school is a relationship, okay? As you see, I just signified there with a ring. But this is a kind of a relationship between three parties, okay? You have your supervisor, of course. Then you have your thesis. So this is part of that relationship. And you have you. And the key here to keep this relationship, as in all relationships, is communication. You have to be able to communicate what is happening in your research. And in this relationship, you are the leader. You lead your research. Your supervisor is there to supervise, but you are leading. You are responsible. Some people might say they're in a group that they don't have a lot of conversations with their supervisors. And you might be asking about, okay, my supervisor is never there, and I don't know what to do next. That is your problem. It's really your problem. It's good to get good supervisors that can support you, but really, when it comes to your thesis, you are the leader. You are leading it. I remember just towards the point when I was supposed to defend my thesis, because I was doing it in 2 universities. So I had twice the number of people in the jury. I had twice the kind of rules. So basically, they combined the graduation rules from 2 universities. So it was almost impossible to meet such requirements, even on very strict deadlines. So my supervisor called all their friends who could be part of the jury, but because there was a lot of specific needs, like it had to happen on a particular day, in a particular room at a particular time. So many people could not join. He called all his friends. The one in France called all his friends. The one in Germany called all his friends. And I still needed around 4 people to be in my jury. So I called my supervisor and like, this is December 18th, 2018. I was like, but the defense is in February. What am I going to do? He was like, Kenny, I don't know what to do. Like, it has to dawn on you that you have to drive this. I basically had to start looking at all the conferences I've attended, all the professors that are in my field. I was basically calling them and saying, please, can you be part of my jury? So you really need to think about that. It's your responsibility. And that changes a lot. For some people, you notice this at the beginning. For me, I didn't notice that this was a lot of my responsibility until almost after maybe almost 1 year before I really realized that I need to drive my research. Okay. So this is also why this kind of conversation and this kind of connection is important, because then you should already start thinking, not waiting after 1 year or 2 years before really realizing that this is your responsibility. This is your baby. So you have to decide how you want it to be. So you have to ensure that you communicate whatever is happening in your research to all these parties. So there is your thesis, there is your supervisor. Make sure if something is not going right, if there is an issue, if there is some challenge, you have to communicate with your supervisor. You have to make sure that the expectations of the project are aligned. Okay, so maybe you have to plan something after 3 months or after 6 months, that you connect with your supervisor, put all your results together and discuss with him, what is success of this research going to look like? At what point will this PhD be actually done? What are we looking for? Is it feasible? Do we have to like get to a point when we can compromise on the end? Like, without a clear direction, without a clear objective, you might spend a lot of years accumulating a lot of data, but you just feel like you are not doing anything simply because there is no roadmap. So that is why communication is very, very important. Make sure, don't tell me or don't tell anybody that, I wrote to my supervisor, he's not planning a meeting. Make sure just be conscious in your mind that this is your responsibility. If he doesn't respond to your 100 of your emails, if he doesn't respond to your call, there is no excuse. You have to make sure that you are aligned. Otherwise, you run into a situation or a scenario where you are so late and you don't even realize it because you have so many experiments, but you are simply not going anywhere. There is no roadmap. So you have no destination. Okay? Ibe, how much time do I have? Because I know I talk too
much. Yeah, so usually we use a lot of time, but we can take like 10 minutes more to wrap up.
Okay, so that's good. It's good I asked. So now before we go into our PhD, this is what we think. Like, you see, I just created success timeline. You just smoothly run. Ahmad is loving, right? You just keep smoothing from the beginning up to the end. Even you can feel it, right? So you start from the beginning and smoothly you graduate. It looks so clear. Like, this is what we expect. This is also what I expected. But no, in reality, your PhD trajectory might look like this. Okay, it could be some kind of cosine curve or sine curve, or you see, some of them looks like you don't really have a sharp drop. So maybe there's some point where you feel you are getting something. Like in me, it would appear, for instance, in the first representation when I felt, okay, I'm at the top, I'm doing well, and down. But you have to keep climbing, right? If you stay down, you are down. And I am not putting the timeline here with years. So this could be, I don't know. It depends on whatever scenario you find yourself. But you could also have a complexation. You could have a mixture of both types of trajectories. So what that means is you are not just going to go through smoothly. Let it be conscious. Be conscious of this, because once you are conscious that this is not an examination that you read and write and pass. It's a process. And that's why you are the product. That's why you have to go in knowing that I'm going to go through this. I'm not expecting it to be smooth, because it's not going to be smooth. If it was smooth, then it's not a PhD project, right? So you are doing something, you don't expect it to be easy. But it not being easy is not bad. So just be conscious in your mind what you are going to face. I'm not putting this up to scare you, but just to paint what is the reality, okay? So I have the aspect that I really found very, very interesting, which is fail early, fail fast, fail cheap. Now, I have picked up the concept in economics, or also for people that are doing startups. You have this cost of innovation. Okay, they call it the S curve. Basically, what this curve shows is that depending on how much or at what point you are in this curve, you could actually cause a lot for you to fail. Okay, so if you fail early, like in my case, I failed early. So that's why my supervisor was like, imagine if I did not notice that this experiment was actually not working, and I noticed it after 3 years, there's no PhD, right? It doesn't mean I've not been doing a lot of work in 3 years, but no, I noticed the failure very late. So the first part here is what I have as the green. You fail early. The cost of failure is cheap. So it makes sense. If you move later, it goes more into the amber, and then it becomes quite tricky. If you fail there, it's not too bad, you can recover. But if you fail at this point, the cost of failure is already very high. And you don't want to wait until you fail here, right? So this curve, you can apply it to your project, even for many of us that don't just do one project. In our PhD, we have different sub-projects that make together the thesis. So what this means is, when you are designing your experiment, always think about your worst case scenario. That is how you fail early, okay? So what that means is, for those of us that are chemists, we try to apply certain types of reactions on complex molecules. We start by doing model reactions, okay? And in most instances, for some people, they will do the model reactions, optimize the model reactions, then they go to their main substrate. But you could go to the main substrate and the reaction doesn't even work. So why don't you try to even think of first testing the reaction on your substrate? If it doesn't work, you know it doesn't work. Then you start thinking backward, like what could be wrong? And try to incorporate this into your design of experiments when you are working on a model. So you are actually trying to answer the question of failure. And if it works on your main component, on your main substrate, you know, done, this is done. I don't need to spend 2 months optimizing a model reaction when I know I cannot apply it on the main substrate. So you have to think in that scenario, in that kind of perspective of how can I fail early? How can I fail fast? How can I design my experiment that I can test the worst case scenario? So this is very helpful. You can apply it really on project to project basis, okay? So don't wait until it's so late before identifying what is failure. And in every case, whatever is failure, because remember, failure simply means this did not work. This is a way that it should not work. It will not work. And it's a result. It's a result of what will not work, right? And it all depends on how you decide to structure it. Like the first 5 months of my research, I felt this is a waste of time. But my supervisor said, no, actually, this could even make 1 or 2 paragraphs in your thesis. And that was what happened. So what I'm trying to communicate there is always be conscious of not failing late. And one way that you should not fail late is when you never think it's too early to start thinking about your thesis, to start thinking about your the entire project that you are doing. One way to take care of this is to make sure that you spend a lot of time on review. Now, imagine that at the second year of your PhD, you realize that there is actually a paper that answers most of the problems you were having in your first 1 year, or even in your first 2 years. But the paper existed two years ago, and you only realized it 2 years after wasting 1 year going round and round trying to optimize something that already exists, right? So you can never spend too much time on literature review. And for me, something I realized even at the second year of my PhD, when I started thinking about writing a review, was if I had thought about this from the beginning, most of the publications I was reading throughout my research from the beginning, I could actually have been drafting my review, which I need for the second chapter of my thesis. So don't wait till the very end. When you are reading your publications now at the beginning, already start thinking of how can I draft this into a story? How can I put this into a review, even if you don't have to publish it? At the end of the day, you have already summarized those research that you would need in any way for your thesis, but you have also made, again, a lot of time to understand what is happening in your field. So when you are doing your experiments, when you are reporting your results, make sure that you try to organize from the first opportunity to get, for those of us that, again, did chemistry, we have hundreds of NMRs and data to analyze, hundreds of FTIRs. So if you wait till the very end of your thesis to start organizing this type of data, you would spend a lot of time. So make sure when you are presenting, going to conferences and all, you have already organized your results into a way that you can use it in your thesis. Have a format, always keep to that format so that you don't have to change and correct them over time, okay? So even if you don't publish your results, when you're thinking of your experiment, structure it in a way, because you'll be reading a lot of papers in that area, you can already identify what is the language, what kind of results do they report, what amount of experiments do they report before they can be able to make a publication. So that even when you are designing your experiment, you can already be thinking, to what extent do I need to go to be able to complete this story, okay? Because each manuscript is like a story. So what do you need to complete this story? Even if you don't publish it, let it be in a format that can be publishable, because when you write your thesis and that is already ready, you save a lot of time. If I look at my thesis, if I needed to do it from the scratch, I would have spent a lot of time, with at least 1.5 years. So when I did finish my thesis in 2 weeks, it was simply because all my publications, all my articles have been published. So if you can achieve publications before you defend your thesis, it gives you a lot of time. But even if you could not publish them, you can always have them in the right format that you can include into your thesis, okay? So that is how you write your thesis from there. And of course, we know for every graduate student, when you think of thesis, just the number of pages and how complex this is, it scares the hell out of us. But if you start thinking about achieving it step by step, just knowing that, okay, I'm already writing my thesis in every little step that I take, it helps you to write it prepare and avoid this shock that comes from, now it's time for thesis. I need 6 months to start writing my thesis. No, you don't want to do that, okay? So another aspect. Yeah, what did you say? 1 minute.
Time, if you can wrap it up would.
Yes, exactly. So I just want to point out about the importance of collaboration. It cannot be overemphasized. Make sure that you identify opportunities to collaborate. Don't try to do it all because you are so smart and you want to make sure you run all the complex experiments yourself. Make sure that you identify opportunities to collaborate, okay? And I hope that I've not spoken too much out of everything that you have hoped for. I hope I've not made you more scared than you were when you started your graduate studies. I hope I'll be able to share with you the little I can of how you can really think the end from the beginning. So don't wait till the end to start thinking about some of these points. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelechukwu, for this wonderful presentation. I've learned so much. So we're going to quickly take a few questions. Because of time, we will not be able to take so many questions, but we'll just take few, but so we can move to the next speaker. So for now, I will allow Hope also to be in charge. So I'm going to unmute Hope so he can be in charge of this question and answer section.
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, if it's okay.
Yes, that will be fine.
Hello, I believe you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes, Hope.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Kelechi, for the nice presentation. I have some questions from some of the followers here. So one of the questions that was the first one to pop up was, what advice do you have for someone who is about to get admitted into a doctoral program, but is not sure if he's fully motivated enough for that program?
That's quite a complex question because on one hand, so let me put it this way. For a lot of people, they transition into graduate studies or into PhD for the sake of maybe absence of jobs, perhaps, right? So it looks like the most logical thing to do because then you get some fundings and you are basically living out of the salary from your PhD research. So in that case, it's difficult for me to answer this question. Then on the other hand, if you are transitioning into the PhD, because I've had friends that called me and said, but Casey, like, why should I do a PhD? And I asked them, I should ask you, why shouldn't you do it? and you are more interested because you want to go into a niche area that you don't think you need so much expertise in that field, and you want to just go into the industry, it changes the conversation. So for this person, when you talk of motivation, the motivation here could come from two aspects. The first is the project. So for me, I think my biggest motivation came from the project that I was doing. And I've seen a very good friend of mine, if you come into that conversation of doing something because I would like it later, right? You would like it later on. Like, it's not something that you are passionate about. When you go into this kind of challenging circumstances, you would break, or you would most likely break, because you cannot find the reason why. Like, you even come and say, why am I even coming to the lab? I mean, why should you wake up every morning? If I sleep and wake up with my PhD in my head, it's always there with me. Why do you want to pass through this kind of torment for 3 years for something that you are not passionate about? It means it will be difficult for you to manage it. So the motivation, what I can advise this person is that perhaps you need to find where your passion is, right? If you are going to go into PhD because it's the next thing for you and it helps you to continue into the academia area, okay, it's fine. But you see, you need to build in that aspect of the passion because you have a reason why you went into it. So it's more about the reason why you want to go into the PhD. That should help you build that passion. But if you are in the project itself and you are passionate about what you're doing, it helps you to scale through the challenges that you are definitely going to face.
Okay, thanks for that. I have like 2 more questions.
Hope.
Yeah.
Okay, take one more, sorry, because of time, so we can go to the next speaker. You
Yeah.
can gather the question and email Dr. Kelechukwu.
Yeah, let me just maybe put, just maybe combine one, basically one. One of the question is, how do you handle or deal with advisors who like compare their students, basically compare one person to another? And then how do you stay motivated and confident in such a situation?
That's very interesting. So that's why the first slide that I gave you was that you are the product of your PhD research. And the advice I want to give you is that don't let anybody take that away from you, okay? You are going to go through people that have their own personal problems and they want to bring it into your own life, like, oh, you are not doing enough because this person is doing great work and blah, blah, blah. Of course, they're your supervisors. You wouldn't go and confront them physically, but just put it at the back of your mind. Ask yourself one question: are you doing enough? But doing enough is a tricky question because doing enough could really mean that perhaps you have not properly designed your experiment and you are doing a lot of work, but you are not doing something meaningful simply because you have not identified a direction of where you want to be. So this comes back to that point I talked about, aligning expectations. From the beginning, if your supervisor is comparing you with other people, make sure you understand what he expects. Then make sure that you are communicating how you are progressing in that direction. That's why if something is not working, let him be sure, but don't just come and say, this is not working. No. Come to him and say, this is not working. This is what I think is the reason. I've tested this, and this is what I propose we can do. This is how I think we can address this. So come with solution. Think out of that. That's why I said, don't be boxed up into the project. Really open up your mind. The project was written before you started it, right? So the expectations they have might not be what, like in my PhD, a lot of things changed that they could not envision from the beginning. But if I was only sticking out to what they had written down, the script that I had before starting my project, I will have a lot of problems. So don't be enclosed. And for such a supervisor, I think if they are comparing you with others, don't see it as they are minimizing you. You have to come with your own power to overcome such kind of negativities.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for the question and answer. So I'm sorry, we have to move to the next speaker now.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I'm grateful. Thank you because you're always there to answer me when I call you. So maybe if you don't know Kelechukwu, he has also inspired me a lot. So he's my friend and my brother. Thank you. So I'm going to move to the next speaker now. My very good friend also. So Nkem, could you unmute yourself and introduce the second speaker? Nkem, are you there?
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Wow, that was just inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Okamike. I honestly wish someone had told me all this before I even started grad school, but thankfully, that's why we are here. So for our next speaker, we'll be moving on to Dr. Tiamiyu Ahmed, who is a Nigerian Canadian. He also graduated with a first-class honors degree in metallurgical and materials engineering from the University of Lagos, Akoka, after which he proceeded to the University of Saskatchewan, where he obtained both his master's and doctorate degrees in material science. His excellent research works has been published in high-impact journals, and they have also won him various awards, including the prestigious Vanier Canada Graduate Scholarship. Today, he currently serves as a postdoctoral research fellow at the esteemed Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, given this excellent track record, who else can be more qualified in coaching us on how to become excellent graduate students than this MIT scholar? Please join me to welcome Dr. Tiamiyu Ahmed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and trust me, I really want to appreciate everyone who have joined us tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's nice. Most of the people here are coming from different parts of the world. So I will start now, and I think I should bring in my slide here. So before I proceed, thank you, Dr. Casey, and I think I actually look forward to hearing from you. I don't know where Ibe got you from. I read your profile, I said, wow, I have to listen to this man. So when I was told that you would speak before me, I was really very happy. Thanks. And I'm still learning, so I learned something there. So I'll share my slide briefly with us. And it's just a slide, and I'll move through it very quickly, because I know we have a lot of things to do. Is it sharing? Can you see it?
We can only see your desktop,
Okay, so let me share again. I think, can you see anything now?
Yes.
Great. So give me 1 minute. All right, so I don't want to take much of our time because we had trouble from the beginning. So I'll just move straight into what we have today so that we can move on. And interestingly, Dr. Casey has covered some of these things. And interestingly, some of the things he discussed actually overlap completely with what I have to share today. So it's just going to be an addition. And of course, I trust that we can have one or two things to learn. And before starting, I acknowledge the fact that our audience are mixed. And I know that some of us are not science, you're not a material scientist like me or something. We have guys in economics and all of that. But the beauty of this talk is that irrespective of the field you find yourself, you'll be able to pick one or two things. That's the most important thing about this talk. So I acknowledge that, but all of my talk will be based on my experience, just like Dr. Casey. But I can assure you that it can still fit in perfectly with your case. All right. Sorry, 1 minute here. I'm not sure. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Casey showed the diagram, and I think that was very interesting. And for me, in order to guide this talk, I had separated your person and your work, which is very important. And when I mean your work, I mean your thesis. And the reason why I try to split it is because your person will drive your work, and you should not forget that. This is very extremely important. So even though you have, if you like, have big dreams that is bigger than the mountains, whichever way, if you don't work on yourself to drive this work, it's going to be a very big issue. So I'll be sharing one or two things, and they are not exhaustive. So I mean, to be honest with you, you have a lot of things you can think of that can help you, but I'll just share one or two things that I think really helped me during my graduate program. Of course, be determined, diligent, and focused, and also be smart. You know, we've heard a lot of motivational speakers use this word. And one thing I want to say about this word is you don't just hear them. Allow this word to be part of you. Take each of them, and there's a need to, and I tell you, this is how I dealt with all of these words. I picked them one after the other, try to understand what they actually mean and personalize it, internalize all of this. And what does it take to be determined, diligent, focused, beyond what you will hear on stage, beyond what your own personal understanding on the surface. You need to look at these things, these words, and customize it for yourself to really make sense. And that's what I've done for myself. So for instance, if you say be smart, you want to understand what it really means to be smart in graduate study. I mean, when you are doing your PhD or your master's, and thankfully, Dr. Casey has mentioned some of those things, and I won't like to dwell too much on that because of time. And be positive, always. It may not always be rosy, always be positive, please. I beg you, just be positive. The reason is that social media is a very funny terrain now. People post a lot of things, and I give kudos when I read things online when people share their failures. The majority of the things you hear online is about their successes, which gives you a lot of pressure, thinking that people get to where they are very smoothly. That's not true. And I love the curve Dr. Casey presented. It's not always rosy, there are ups and downs. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. And when those moments happen, you know, find a way to encourage yourself in the process. Now, this is interesting to me. Whatever your hands finds to do it with all your mind. Now, I will take this and link it up to what we have here. Now, the reason is this. I've met a lot of people who will tell me that perhaps, maybe like Dr. Casey was saying, the reasons for going into the program is just because of visa issues and all of that. Now, because people have different reasons why they're going into such program, well, that is fine. But the question is, whatsoever it is, the reason why you started your master's or PhD in the first place, even if it's not really genuine or if it's not really where you really wanted to be, please put all of that aside. What the statement by Solomon Jason, one of the beautiful persons that I've ever lived, said was that as long as what is in your hand at that time is your graduate program, so irrespective of the fact that it was because you couldn't find a job, this statement is saying, put that aside first. You have a reason why you think you should not be doing that program, lay that aside. So the question here is, what are you currently doing? And you want to do it with the whole of your heart and the whole of your mind. And that is very important. And that will drive your positivity in the process of this, your program. Now, desire to learn new things and grab every opportunity to teach. I'm saying this based on the experience I've had. Sometimes you give a whole lot of too much expectation on your supervisors, but it's not always like that. No matter what, you have to, be open to learn new things from every angle. And the moment you learn them, please do well to ensure that you teach others. Because my experience in graduate school is just very funny when you see people who learn things and hoard those things. It doesn't help you. I mean, if you are able to learn new things and you teach others, I can guarantee you 100% of the time, those things will stick to you and it's just part of you. So you want to grab every opportunity. These are the things you want to be thinking of doing during your program. And it's very important, please. Now, I kept this here and it's quite funny, but please, I don't know what your faith is, but I've always told people anytime I had the opportunity to talk with them, don't separate your faith from science. Don't actually. Yes, people may be smart out there. You are also smart and all of that. You have an edge for the fact that you are very strong in your field gives you a hedge. And another thing, one thing I want to also say here is that keep praying for your supervisors. Whatsoever thing happens to the head, happens to the body also. And it's because sometimes you are just worried that your supervisors are behaving somehow funny and all of that. They are also human. Some of them are married, they have their kids. Some of them are having problems with, the fundings they applied for. And some of them, maybe in the morning, you feel they didn't greet you well or they didn't respond to you well. Maybe they just received a letter telling them that what they applied for wasn't successful. And the way they would just look at you that very morning is just very strange, and you get bothered and say your supervisor is this, your supervisor is that. That's not true. Don't be selfish. Just, have that empathy and just understand that these people are humans too. You want to keep praying for them. And I think this is very crucial, and it's one of the things you want to do during your graduate program. And I did it a lot, and I tell you, it worked. Now, before I wrap up this corner, I want to plead with you, stay humble. You still have a lot to learn. Please, I plead with you, irrespective of what you think you'll be achieving during the course of your program. And you see, this section is just a lot about you. This what I have on the left. Please stay humble, especially when you learn things and you begin to hear the praises of your name all over the corners and you think you have arrived. One enemy of your progress in graduate studies is the fact that, is when you become too proud, especially when laurels start coming in from left, right, and center. You want to be sure that you remain very humble. And I think I just want to stay there for now because of time. I'm really very mindful of the time. Now let's go straight to the work itself. And one of the things you need to pay attention to, and I was very glad when Dr. Casey mentioned this. Now, you don't want to jump too very much quickly into your work. You want to be sure that you do a lot of literature review very well. And with that, it can help you draft your objective very clearly. There are very enormous reason why you need to do a very thorough literature review before you start. One, you want to be sure you are speaking the language in your field. And two, you want to be relevant. And three, you want to have a very strong objective. Now, never forget this. Your role as a graduate student is to ensure that you contribute significantly to science. Now, that is what will make you excited even years after your PhD program. It's not even about the fact that you finish very fast or you finish in 3 years. If you finish in 2 years and you didn't contribute significantly to science, who have you helped? So the idea is that you want to be very sure that you do a thorough literature review, you understand where people, the obstacles they are currently having, what are the new things to be added into the field, and then you can highlight them. In fact, if you have a good supervisor, one of the things they ask you to do is to turn those literature review into manuscripts. And just write a review article, then you can publish. Another method is that, which is what happened in my case, is that I did a thorough literature review and it was archived. So each time what that helped me to do is that each time I'm working or writing my manuscript and all of that, because I already have a very good literature review, it helps the introduction section of my work very easy. So I just in fact, I don't bother about the introduction section of my work because I've already done a thorough literature review. Now, what I'm saying here is, and don't limit that literature review to the time you are just starting your meeting, your program. Please, it's something you also do continuously. You want to remain relevant in your field. Be it every time and now and then, I go online to use some keywords to search, do some search on the literature and see those who have recently published your work. And you want to be sure that you are relevant in the field. Now the objective is very interesting. Clarify your objective very well with your supervisor. All of these things are together with your supervisor. Ensure it's well detailed and organized. And I must say this, you don't want to be rigid with with your objectives. Sometimes there may be a need to modify them. That's very true. But for a start, you want to be sure that you are very organized. I was very lucky with all of my supervisors. They are just like that. But what happens when you have, there's some supervisors that are extremely unorganized. You get to their office today, they've forgotten completely what you discussed last week. And if you are not careful, they give you new objectives right there and there. So you want to be sure that you organize things and you are carrying your supervisor along at all times, especially if you have a forgetful one who also is not organized. You want to be sure you carry such person along. And that's very crucial. Now, what did I do with these objectives? The moment I drafted my objective, one thing I normally do is, okay, take for instance, if I have objective 1 from this objective, I'll highlight my approach. I have objective 1, 2, and 3, for instance. And I don't want to work haphazardly. So what I do is just that if I pick objective 1, for instance, and some of you may be having different types of objective. I mean, some objective can flow into one another, while some, you can do 2, for instance, without having to do 1. You can do 2, 3, or whichever way. But for me, I arrange my objective in such a way that most of it falls in the category of, if I don't finish 1, I can't go to 2. And sometimes, if I'm successful with 2, I can do either the 3 and 4 in different order. So this is how I did it. And that, by God's grace, I was able to finish in a very good time. And with a lot of publications too. So what I did was very interesting. If I pick objective number 1, for instance, I designed my activity diagram. Remember I told you that sometimes, if you look at what you are going to do about that objective, sometimes there are some experiments you can't do without another. You have to finish one before you go to the other. And some experiments are very destructive, such that if you don't organize your work very well and you destroy your sample from the beginning, it's a big problem. That's why you want to be very organized. Now, if I design an activity diagram, says that, okay, from here I go to microscope, use microscope 1, and from there you have to do this, another one before you do this, and all of that. I map those things out. And I go to the lab, do my experiments. Sometimes you have some obstacles and all of that. But if that happens, you still have to fight it. But once I'm done with objective 1 and I got all the results I wanted, and I'm happy with it, discuss with my supervisor, and everyone is happy, then I go to write my manuscript. I don't pile up works. So when I go to write my manuscript, for instance, during the process of writing 1, for example, if I'm writing objective 1, because sometimes you could get tired writing too, right? So I take break during this process and I go back to the lab, prepare the activity diagram for this, for objective 2, while I'm still writing my manuscript in 1. Now, before I finish finish writing manuscript 1, all the experimental data for objective 2 are all ready. Now, once I finish writing my manuscript and I submit them, before I go to 3, by the time I'm writing 1, for instance, the data for 3 is ready. So it means that throughout my PhD program, there was never at any point that I don't have papers under review. In fact, the least is just maybe I have two journals under review, because I always work with such flow. And it made me very effective to the extent that, in fact, I finished all of the objectives they gave me in 2.5 years. And because I have a huge funding and the money is so sweet that I don't want to miss, so I have to extend my PhD by extra 1.5 years. So there was an objective I was asked to remove, but I have to bring it back because there was a lot of time. And I ensure that I publish all my work before the defense. And Dr. Casey mentioned that too. I did that, and the good thing about publishing before you defend is that you have less work to do on your graduation day, on your defense date. because you've already published them. And when my members of the committee came and somebody came from the US, I was doing my PhD at that time in Canada, and they were surprised. Everything's already published, 11 journals. My thesis was just like a whole lot of books. Everyone had difficulty of saying, okay, let's remove this paper. It was very tough to remove one paper from, because my work is just thesis based and I've arranged it and all of that. But the point I'm trying to say is that in trying to be smart, be very sure that, in trying to get your work done, be very smart along the way. This really helped me. And the beautiful thing here about writing is that it helps you a lot on so many aspects, especially in how to think, because writing is not just, you can't just write anyhow. It takes a whole lot of energy and effort, and you want to be sure that you are making sense. So it helps you to actually think when you write. So that's why I advise anybody, even if you're going to the industry or you think you are going to, further your PhD work or postdoc, you want to be sure that you focus on writing. So permit me a bit to wrap up and clear this space, and I think I just need this. All right, so that's that. And the reason why you don't want to pile up your data is because of, is because you could get confused along the way. And secondly, while you are thinking and you are dragging your feet, somebody else can publish your work. Not publish your work, get the same idea of what you are thinking about. And the same thing you are thinking about can get published. I'll give you a very good example. About 2 weeks ago, I have this one beautiful idea, and I saw an equation that was used elsewhere. And I saw that equation can really model the work I was currently doing. Very beautiful, and nobody has ever done that before. And interestingly, last 2 weeks ago, I did a calculation and it modeled my work very nicely. But nobody has done it before. So I was excited that I'll be the first to model it. Now, in trying to update myself, I checked online to look at the recent works that have been done. It will interest you. I don't know if you can see. I'm not sure because it's white. I'm holding it now. It will interest you that I got online. I have to print that paper. And I saw that somebody used that equation to do exactly what I was thinking about. Was just thinking, and everything I've just mapped out. Now, this is why you don't want to be in a rush and you don't want to be too slow. But I was very grateful and very happy that this guy did not do into much detail of what I've done. So I have to print the work and read it very well to know where I can come in again with that same equation. The next thing, don't limit your ideas to what is available in your school. This is very important. Sometimes you complain that there are no equipment to get your objectives done. But if you find out that you have colleagues in other universities that can do that or that have those equipment, and that's why Dr. Casey was referring to collaborations. You want to embrace that and get your work done. The most beautiful thing is that you have a good idea. The lab in which you do it is not really the most important here. So ensure you take advantage, and that's what really helped me during my PhD program. Sometimes I did my PhD in University of Saskatchewan. I'll travel down to University of Manitoba to get some of their equipment used. I will send some of my samples even down to the US, University of California to get some of my work done, even right from Canada. So by the time I published works, they are not just, I wasn't limited with what I have at the four walls of my university. So I was thinking wider, and it's all about the idea. The next thing is, how can I get the right tool to do this? Then I go for it. I start looking for institutions who have some of the equipment that we do not readily have. And mind you, either you like it or not, your lab cannot have everything you need. So you must, be open enough to receive ideas from other people and learn to collaborate. I don't know why some people want to just be the only author in a paper. It doesn't make sense. I've reviewed for a lot of journals, and if a paper is sent to me to review and you are the singular author, I become more critical because I know that you only wrote this paper and everything is just about you and you alone. So I do a lot of work to ensure that I review that manuscript very critically. So enjoy collaboration, for crying out loud. In fact, it's good. It will help you. And that leads me to the aspect of attending conferences. Don't joke with it. And I'm saying this because when you start graduate school and you begin to attend conferences, sometimes people just, oh, I'm going to San Diego, and it's the beautiful places you care about. Stop that. Don't do that, please. When you go for conferences, and this is what I usually do, and it shocked my my PhD supervisor. The beautiful thing about these conferences is that they send you the programs of the presenter. Take your time, go through it, and look at the presentations that align with your work, the people in your field that you are. In fact, almost the big guys in my field that I saw first in papers, I've met all of them. Even the top one, my PhD supervisor was thinking, how do you meet these guys? I said, in conference. So you want to ensure that you see all of these people, you go to their talks, listen to the new things that have been developed, and you look at the way to add all of these things. In fact, one of my objectives, there was a tool I used. I never thought of to use that tool from the beginning. I learned about the tool from the conference, and I have to talk a professor there to collaborate with us. So I sent some sample there, and that's how I got the work done. Nobody will come and ask me if I send my sample to that place or not. How did you get the work done? So it's, if you are looking at that paper today, you see the first author and the corresponding author and the one. So you want to be sure that when you are going to conference, you prepare adequately. It's not about your own presentation alone. Don't just go present and you think you are free like a bird and start enjoying the scenes of different places. No. Attend people's work, network. People will come from different parts of the country. Talk to them. You see people's papers, you've just been reading it, and you've not met them before. Talk to them. I've read your work. What's going on with you? What's your lab? I mean, what are you doing in your lab? This is what I'm doing and all of that. And it helps you. You are well informed. And that takes me to the importance of people. Please, during your graduate program, I love my PhD supervisor. My PhD supervisor always tells me one thing. He said, Tiamiyu, always choose your battle. You don't want to be, fighting everybody everywhere. There is no need. Don't fight with people. Don't have issues with even the smallest person in quotes in your area. Probably it's the lab cleaner or something and all of that. And then even people you think that you rank highly than them and all of that. People are very, very important in your life. And in your graduate program, you want to be sure that you respect people and you take them very highly. Even if they are coming from one university, you think that you are more superior. You need to humble yourself. It's very important. Honestly, there's no time, but I tell you, I begin to look at tracing myself from undergraduate to where I'm currently on. Each time myself and my wife were praying and we are just reflecting on all of these things, I see traces of men that the Lord has used. And some of them are not as mighty as you have thought, such that if you have quarreled with them, you'll be able to learn anything. So you must pay attention to people when you start your program. Some of them will come as though they don't know anything, but they know. Some of them will come as though they are not sound and very, in fact, I used to tell people, out of every nonsense people speak, there's still sense in it. So you don't want to place a price on people and get them shut out. Please, that is very important. In your graduate program, enjoy your relationship with people. It can drive you beyond what you even imagine. Now, the next one, I think I mentioned this in passing. Either you find yourself in academics or industry, or if you are thinking about that, some of you would say, I've met people who will tell me they're not interested in publication. What they just want to do is finish their PhD and get out. You will land yourself in trouble. And this is the reason, because sometimes I've also met people who will say that the things they despise most are sometimes where the real thing they would have needed if they had paid attention to it in the past. You want to take advantage of the moment and ensure you publish your work. If you don't publish, it's not about publication really, but how do I get to know you if your work is not out there? I mean, coming to MIT was just something I wasn't planning, but my publication spoke. And it was right at the time when in my lab, they were looking for a postdoc who had a combination of the experience I had, that I got into the lab. So you want to be sure that you don't just pile your data, publish it. It's very important, and people will be able to see it. Now, in relation to if you are going to academics or something, and that's why people like Dr. Casey, I respect them a lot. And you can see he had a lot of publications. Now, what it means is that, and currently is in the industry. Now, look at this. He can switch at any time into academics, anytime, because of his publication record. Now, if he doesn't have those publication record, it may be difficult for him to come back. So that's why you don't want to take chances. If you are in your PhD program, as much as possible, do your best to write. And let me say this. When you start writing, you will, in fact, you may start, you will write nonsense. Let me put it that way. Don't be afraid to write. I don't want to show you my first, in fact, sometimes I look at the first draft I had when I started writing. Oh my God, I was asking myself, am I this person? But one thing my PhD supervisor will tell me, said, Tiamiyu, when you are reading people's work, don't just focus on summarizing their work and put it in your paper. Pay attention to the flow of writing. Look at people who have gone ahead of you and they have written very good articles. Pay attention to the flow of their work, how they put the stories together. And that really helped me. So each time I'm reading articles, I look at the flow, how people write. And that really, really helped me and all of those things. So please don't be afraid. For a very first time, you may write rubbish. And if God bless you with a good supervisor, you are in for it. And that was what happened in my PhD. Sometimes my PhD supervisor will call me, we were talking to the night, and he will explain things to me. Tiamiyu, you don't write this way. This is how to write. Put this together and all of that. I just pray you have supervisor who will have your time. But if you don't, still, nothing spoil. If you don't, still, nothing spoil. You can learn. There are so many tools online now that can help you. But the most important thing of this is, if you are in graduate school, try to publish your work. Write manuscript. It will help you. And the last one here, I said stay humble. It's not a repetition. It's deliberate. Please, this is just my charge. I must tell you, this statement is the best I can offer you right now. I would prefer, by God's grace, I'm heading toward becoming a faculty. I prefer to have a humble student than to have a prideful student who seems to know all things and actually doesn't. So please, as you begin to learn, as you begin to increase, as you begin to do a lot of things in your area, and as the Lord begins to show you things, and increasing on all sides, even with lawyers and all of that, remember to stay humble so that you will still remain relevant. Thank you. I hope I didn't spend too much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Tiamiyu. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful. You've inspired me a lot, and I'm so grateful. I think that many of us have listened to him, and this will make a difference in our PhD or our master's from now. So now we're going to move over quickly because of time. I'm really sorry because we've taken so much time. We're having some technical issues at the beginning. If you joined late, this is the first time we're organizing this, so we believe next time will be better if we have the privilege. So I'll go to the question and answer section. I'm going to invite Hope again to take the question and answer. Dr. Kelechiku is still around. Dr. Ahmed is around to take some questions. Please be aware that we won't be able to take all the questions because of time. So what will happen is that you can send us an email of your question. We can reach out to them, and I don't know. I think they will be okay connecting with us on LinkedIn. So maybe you can. I don't know, Dr. Tiamiyu, is that fine?
Yeah, it's fine. Even though my my page is epileptic. I'm still trying to work on my LinkedIn. It's not really, but I'll try. I'll try.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure my friend Dr. Kelechi Pusu is fine with that. So let me move over to Hope. Hope, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Please.
All right. So the many questions, but I'll just try to like lump them together so we don't take too much time. Since you were talking about publishing and writing a lot, I figured it was best to start with one of the questions in that regard. Mm-hmm. So someone was asking, how do you manage an advisor who make you to write everything, grants, proposal, and without affecting your own work?
Come again with that question. Thank you.
How do you manage an advisor that give you basically all the writing responsibility, like writing grants, writing proposals, while also doing your research at the same time?
This is beautiful. Thank you for that question. If you are given such responsibility, please embrace it with the whole of your heart, your mind, and all of that. I learned so much by doing extra work by my supervisor that are not even mine. In fact, it's a beautiful way to learn. Please don't get angry with your supervisor. Just take it. And I pray I pray the Lord will help you. But trust me, and I think I should use this point to speak to those who are married. I really wanted to say that, but because of time, if you're married now, you have such pressure from your supervisor to do more stuff. And then you have family at home. How do you get these things all together? Please, if you are married, it's a beautiful thing. I was married throughout my PhD. I got married in my master's, and many people thought it's off for me. Now, never separate your research don't separate it from your family. Even my little kids, once they come to me sometimes at night, Daddy, what are you doing? I tell them what I'm doing at that moment, just to carry everybody along. It's very powerful. So that when you get those extra work from your supervisor, it's just as if all of you are doing it together. So my wife, I spend a lot of time explaining. She's an accountant by background, but I spend a lot of time explaining my work to her, just to ensure everybody is carried along. It's our work. So if you have those extra load, honestly, it's good for you. So have the opportunity to write proposal, men. If your supervisor wants to write proposal and they are looking for persons, please let them tell me I'm available to write for them. So it's part of the learning process. Take it. It's part of it. You learn a lot doing such thing, please. Thank you. I hope that's helped. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. Two questions that I want to put together to one. The question is like, how do you make your decision in selecting a particular research topic? That is one, but I want to link it on that question so you can answer both of them together. And the other question was like, what is also better in selecting an advisor, a young, vibrant advisor, or a well-renowned but much more older advisor? So you can just lump those together.
Yeah, thank you. Let me start from the last one. I think we have very smart people who really want to do great things in this as audience. Somebody said something. Now look at what I did. You know, the problem is, especially people coming from Nigeria, they like big profiles. So when they want to go for PhD or masters, they go for professors, emeritus, and all of that. And the problem with that is that sometimes these people, they are old. There's nothing you want to write again that they fancy. So they don't even have your time too. So be careful. Now, I always advise the best set of people to go for PhD or masters, I may be wrong, are assistant professors who are just becoming a professor and they have everything to lose, in quote. So if, in that case, how you perform is, they are interested in how you perform because it's going to help their promotion too. Those kind of people, you learn best from them. And then maybe associate professors and all of that. But don't do that when you are in the process of, okay, you are going from being a postdoc to academia. You want to be wise. In that case, you go for people who are well known, that they have connection. So don't think I came to MIT for coming sick. So, and I carefully selected my supervisor. I mean, we call it PI here. I use that word. My current PI is well known all over the world. And so I care about him. I mean, in choosing. So I think that is very important. Be wise when you are going to PhD and when you are going from PhD to maybe like postdoc to become an academia. So you want to be sure you play smart there and be wise. The first one, I can't remember. Oh, help me.
I was regarding selecting the project topic. What do you look out for?
Yes, I actually don't know how it works in all of these places, but I would talk about what happened in my case. Now, if you have a good supervisor, what they do is that they have topics. In fact, they wrote proposal to get the fund they want to use. So they have topics for you to work on. They have a proposal, I mean, something you should work on. But they don't give you all the breakdown of the objective. That one is left for you to do based on when your thorough literature review. So it depends. I didn't fall under the category of go and find your own topic. No, it's not. And most of the time, it's not always like that. Your PhD supervisor have something they are trying to solve. So they just tell you overview of what you want to do, and it's left for you to go and write a proposal. Objective to address that problem. I'll give you a quick example. In 2017, I knew I was planning to come to MIT. Then I brought my entire family here for vacation to Massachusetts. So in order to use one stone to kill two birds, my wife wanted vacation. So I decided that, okay, if I'm going for vacation, I brought her here. Then I quickly went to peep at the lab to get a sense of what is happening. So what my PI told me was just very simple, my supervisor. This is what we want to do. And this is what we have been trying to do. Now, trust me, I don't need more. Don't tell me more. That is just, now I went back to Canada. The first thing I did, like that was why I said something about literature review. I ransacked the internet and all of that. I got everything I could lay my hands on and I read all of them thoroughly. And I brought my own proposal, incorporated my experience and all of that into it. By the time I submitted my proposal and gave him a draft of it, he had to mail me that he was surprised by what he saw. So to tell you that it's not, sometimes you don't have the full picture from your supervisor. They will just tell you, this is what we are working on. You should be smart enough to do the right thing and get the right approach to get all your work done. I hope I helped.
Yes, that was very good. I don't know how much time I have, EP, but there are a couple more questions I can ask, if that's fine.
So Hope, we have about 5 minutes more. So kindly, also, if you have some questions to share with Dr. Kelechi, that's still fine.
Oh, okay. I just asked this, I think any of them, I would just maybe do like 2 questions if that works. If it's 2 to 3 questions, if it's 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, 5 minutes, please. Cost of time.
I think both Kelechi and Ahmed mentioned about collaborations. So I think there's a question received earlier, but we couldn't take it, that how do you manage working on multifaceted projects that involve different advisors, and then they all have like their different work regime, like stricter deadlines, and then just how do you basically manage working with advisor and co-advisor? We got that question earlier, but we couldn't ask it.
Okay, let me start from my case, and I think Dr. Kelechi can help with that.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but
yeah, I mean, could add to that. I think for me, I never had, based on my experience, I never had problem with that. But I will tell you, in my PhD program, I had 2 supervisors. And trust me, they were totally opposite persons. One is a very supportive, and the other was just, but I say had that way of balancing to try to understand each of them. But the most important thing I would say here, while I allow Dr. Kelechi to say something, is just simple. Just avoid unnecessary issues. No doubt there is, I can tell you, if care is not taken, you still favor one person than the other. So it's just normal. You may want to prefer one person than the other, but the most important thing is just you want to ensure that everybody is happy. So just do your work and be sure that everyone is carried along, and don't, raise issues with any of them. Thank you. I'm not sure if that really helps, but Dr. Kelechi can help.
Dr. Kelechi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm right here. Ahmed, very, very nice talk, by the way. It was nice to see all the different important aspects, and again, still emphasizing some of the points that I highlighted at the beginning. Yeah, and let me just even add the aspect about prayers, because, and also humility, right? Because I always believe, and this was one of the aspects that I had to learn really from the beginning, that nobody has achieved it all, okay? You have to be humble. That is why nothing pisses me off than people that are proud or prideful. You just understand that what you have is a gift, right? It's an opportunity for you to impact others. Don't use it as an advantage to belittle other people, to make people feel like they are not worthy. I mean, I'm sorry I'm moving away, but just to reemphasize some of the points that I mentioned earlier. So you have to be humble. You can't go further than how humble you are. So please, let's put that at the back of our mind. And of course, the importance of prayers, right? That you are doing your part, but you are depending on God for direction and guidance. And in a lot of aspects, I mean, I hope at some point I complete my book, I hope. But you would see a lot of the decisions that I've made have been at points that people would tell me, it was like when I was moving to the industry, they told me something like, come on, what are you doing? It's crazy. You are in Germany, you don't speak German, you are living off. I had 3 postdoc offers, and I accepted one, but I had to opt out of it after. And they were like, it doesn't make sense. You are here, you don't speak German, you don't do this. But when I brought my offer, they were like, this is unbelievable. It was the same with getting an apartment here in Frankfurt. So what I'm trying to say is, when you depend on God for guidance and you're doing your own part, just be rest assured that you have a destiny, okay? That's why you should have it at the back of your mind that you are not late. You are not late. You have a destiny. If you believe that you have a destiny, that you have a place that you're going to, just make sure you're doing what you have to do. So now back to the question about managing different supervisors. As I mentioned in the beginning, I did a very kind of unique PhD, which is a double PhD program, meaning that I received a doctoral program from 2 different universities, and I needed to fulfill the doctoral requirements from those universities, and they don't have the same requirements, okay? So doing the same project, but meeting different objectives, because these 2 groups, of course, they're all working in the broader aspect of sustainable chemistry, but on one hand, it was more of basic research. So synthesis basically. So I was making materials in one group, moving to the other group to make materials and application. So the point about making sure that you carry your supervisors along, that's why I talked about communication. I gave so many presentations because on one hand, I'm in this university, I have to come back to the other one and explain what I've been doing in the previous university. And when I move to the other one and I'm back, so you have to make sure that you carry everybody along. And that aspect about aligning expectations. So when different people have different research objectives, and a lot of my colleagues or some of my colleagues in this project that I did, they face that problem because the supervisor in University A is looking at the project from side A. The supervisor from University B is looking at it from side B. And you are in the middle, you are now like, how do you call it? Like a lab rat. So you move to A, when you are A, you move to B, but you are not making any headway because none of them are aligning on anything. So you have to understand that you bring everybody into the picture and all agree on what will be the expectation. So you need to carry them along. If they cannot align because each person is looking at it differently, then you have a problem, right? So you have to make sure that if A says, I want to get A, then understand what you can do with A to satisfy B so that everybody is happy. At the end of the day, if you have 2 supervisors, they all need to approve your thesis before you even defend, right?
Yeah.
So make sure that you understand what is their concern. As Ahmad said, I completely agree with him. Don't fight anybody. Don't try to make it look like, okay, A is the person that is helping me, B is spoiling me. I just want to do away with B and focus on A. Sometimes you cannot do away from such a contract because it was already designed in that way before you came in. So try as much as possible to align expectations. Understand what they are looking for. And if it doesn't make sense, because even you cannot explain it to anybody, make sure that they all understand it. Don't fight, okay?
All right. All right.
Hope can you take more?
What is it?
Let's take just the last question, sorry.
Okay, maybe I can take direct this one back to Ahmed. The question someone asks is, what is the place of age in the postgraduate studies? That I am 41, I'll be getting on my PhD when I'm 43 years old. Does that make sense? So that's the question. And then you can just tie that, I think, would end in like, how exactly do you define success in a PhD program? And I think we can just answer both of those questions, which should be fun.
Okay, I think I got the first one clearly. The second one, you may have to repeat it when I'm done with the first. First, I would say that age is actually not a barrier to achieving what you, in fact, I still read in the news that some days ago, you see even 73-year-old, 75-year-old completing their PhD. So that is not, that is not an issue. I think my whole concern is, what do you want to do with that PhD at that age? Now, you must understand the landscape of the country you have. I will tell you very, PhDs are, in Canada is very funny, that PhDs, the way they value PhD students or graduates in Canada is not as much as it is in the US. So if you have a PhD degree in Canada, for instance, at the age of 40-something, well, that's why there's nothing impossible for God to do. But you must understand that Canada doesn't really value the PhD program to that extent. Why? Because if you want to go to the industry, they don't really, maybe your boss finished with just BSc and all of that. So it's not really that weighty, except you want to go into academics. And when you are going to academics, too, sometimes they focus on age too, stylishly. All of these things have a way that plays in. But in the US, for instance, you must understand that with US, even in the industry, they will grab you with a PhD. It doesn't matter what your age is. So if that's your focus, you want to understand the country you have, please, I'm not sure where the person is writing from, but understand the landscape of the country you are in relation to the PhD degree you want to take. If you are just starting, you want to continue, at what age will you finish? Look at what you want to do. So if eventually you want to go to the industry in Canada, for instance, I will tell you that you don't need a PhD if you want to go straight to the industry, straight, and your heart is made up, and you are at that age, you can just go to the industry.
Okay, yeah. So the final question I ask is like, what exactly defines success in a PhD program, and what is like the main advice you want us to leave here with today, if there's anything like that?
Please. I said this, and I think I mentioned it while I was talking. The goal is to contribute to science. It's a waste of time. You finish your PhD program and you have nothing to contribute. And that's why I emphasize the place of literature review. You want to do something new. So ensure you contribute to science. That's just what I'm going to say about it. If God help you, I remember when I joined MIT here, that really helped me because that has always been my goal. How do I contribute to science? So it's really helped me here at MIT. I have a supervisor who, in this place, everything has to be new. They want to be sure, has anybody done it before? So my supervisor is always writing, has anybody done this before? Oh, if it's not done before and you are doing it, oh, he's going to listen to you. So what are we doing? What can we use this model? Can we do? So I've been able to see that those people out there who are very good, they pay attention to how they contribute to science. I mean, they want to contribute. They don't want to do repetition. Some supervisors don't care, maybe a repetition of what has been done before. This is all about you. Be sure that when you are finishing your program, you are contributing seriously to science. This is my parting word for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And yeah, so I think you can maybe end up with that. Like, I think some people asking how best to reach out to you guys on LinkedIn, if they can get access to the slides and things like that. So maybe Ibe can conclude with that. And
maybe before Ibe concludes, I can add just one point as a parting point also, and just adding to what Ahmed said, that of course, the focus of research is to contribute to science. And it is, for me, I always say that I want to do something that we find applications. So innovations that get to the market. Some people see it differently, but that is how I see research, right? That you are doing something that has a meaning that could make a difference in the society. And the last word that I want to leave with is the first slide that I shared initially, that you are a product from your PhD research. So I want, when people talk with you, they can feel and know that, yes, this person has a PhD, your thought process. And that is why when I moved into the industry, you might ask that, but are you applying what you did from your PhD in the industry? That question is not really relevant. Because what the industry is going to be looking at is how you can apply your knowledge to solve problems. So you have to face new tasks. And just the way you think about it, like it's the same way you would have been thinking about your experiments, that same critical thinking, right? And this is what they are going to look at. So just know that you are the product from your PhD research. In contributing to science, in coming out of it, let somebody communicate with you and feel that conversation that indeed I'm talking with someone that has this level of education. I wish you all the very best and God bless you all.
Yeah.
Ibe, can you give me 1 second?
Yes, I won't put it
I read a comment here and it's quite interesting, and I think I wanted to just correct that. Somebody said, what about those of us that our PhD is not science related? Now, when I make contribute to science, it means contribute to your field. If irrespective, I just wanted to address that. Irrespective of the field you have, ensure you are contributing something meaningful. That's what I meant. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So I want to first of all, thank Mighty God for making this a success. I want to thank Dr. Doro, one of the professors that helped us to organize this program. I want to thank the speakers for taking out time so much to explain to us. I've been seriously blessed. And I also want to thank my PhD advisor. She also helped to publicize this. I want to thank my friends who really helped. We could hear Hope Otto, Ike, Millicent, Priscilla, many other people that, because of time, I can't mention your names. You guys really made this success. Most important, I want to tell my wife, Toludokpe Omodolo, thank you very much. She stayed with me. I'm sure she's in the program, and she joined to pray. Before, a few minutes to the event, she said, please, let's pray. And thank you all. I'm so grateful. The Lord will bless you all and be with you. Thank you for your time. So like we said, we're going to share the videos with us. Dr. Kelechi and Dr. Ahmed, if it's fine, but could you put your LinkedIn handle there so that they can reach you? And yeah, till we all win, we'll keep helping each other. Don't forget the parting words. Don't be interested only in your life. Be interested in the life of others. Those are the words of Apostle Paul. Thank you very much, and the Lord bless you. Bye for now.
Bye. I'm just sharing my handle also by link and by the message. Okay, not to you alone, but to everyone. So it was a pleasure to be here, and it's really exciting to see how the turnout has been. And I think eventually we are always working progress. So let's continue working.
How will Dr. Ahmed do now? Please put your hand.
What do you say?
Put your LinkedIn name so my people can get you.
Yes, it's just simply, I think you can just find it. It's Tiamiyu Ahmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, just search for Tiamiyu Ahmed. That's it.
And you can just type maybe in a general message so everyone can just look at it.
Yes, I think somebody did already. I'm so need to. Okay, it's there. It's there. Yeah, Tiamiyu Ahmed also. Oh, okay. No, that's privately. Sorry to everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
Stacy.
You will
Yeah,
see
bye.
again.
Hope. Yeah, sure. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. I don't know why thing was missing.
You're still on.
Okay.